watch this?
How?
How?
Ew, how do you watch this? Dude, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Hello. This is How Do You Watch This? A movie review podcast where each week we each give each other a movie to watch in the genre we love, but they don't. My name is Demi, and I love horror.
My name is Megan, and I love romance.
And this week's common thread is there's a horse. That's it. There is a horse in the movie. Whether it's a named horse or not, doesn't matter.
Yeah, good. So the movie I picked for Demi is Brokeback Mountain.
And I picked the movie Nope for Megan. And I think I'm going first.
Yes. Yeah, you're going first because we start these intros with just you talking forever. Yeah.
It's just going to be me the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
Okay. So my movie, Brokeback Mountain, is a drama.
Mm-hmm.
Director Ang Lee. And the year released is 2005. This is a pretty, I think, famous movie.
Yes.
A lot of people know about this.
Yeah.
It's very...
I was like, there were some other, there are so many options for a horse. And then I was like, I think we have to cover this iconic.
I feel, it is very iconic.
Yeah.
I never watched it because I didn't want to be sad.
Yeah,
so.
I'll be honest with you. I only watched it like the week before I had you. Actually, I think it was the day I recommended it to you. I had finished watching it. Because I never wanted to be sad. I hate movies that make me sad.
I feel like I always get betrayed. Like anytime I give like a movie a chance, like usually it has like romance is a big theme or it's like a drama, and I'm like, oh, this looks really good, I'll give it a chance, and then it breaks my heart, and I'm like, well, this is why I don't watch these movies.
And this is also why I don't really watch horror movies, because life is already sad and scary, and all this
every
other
horror
stuff.
movie is sad and scary.
Yeah,
some are quirky and campy and fun.
Yeah,
but...
well, we'll see.
Anyway, there was a lot of I don't know, controversy. Everyone was just very scared of gay romance.
Right. It was I remember it being a big thing. Yeah. And that's because this was, I feel like this was,
I mean, the first,
I could be wrong, but it might be, that's what I was going to say. I think it was like the first big blockbuster where gay romance is shown.
Yeah, big actors.
Right, exactly.
So, but anyway, we'll get into it because this is a lot happens, and I had to condense my notes a lot. Yeah. So I'm going to be saying things that I think were important, but if anything I forget that you think is important, just jump right in, Meg. So my snapshot is Jack and Ennis are two cowboys who fall in love. They hide their feelings and their relationship from everyone and have separate lives, with the occasional romantic trip back to Brokeback Mountain. Ennis needs therapy. Obviously a lot happens in this movie, but that's, I guess, the main gist of it.
Yeah.
So the movie starts in the year 1963 in Wyoming, and two very handsome cowboys are waiting outside of a trailer in hopes of getting some work from a man named Joe Aguirre. So at this point, Jake Gyllenhaal's character named Jack Twist, and I hate that Jake and Jack are so similar.
Yeah.
I definitely confused him multiple times.
Yeah.
So his name is Jack Twist, and Heath Ledger plays Ennis Del Mar, and they don't know each other at this point. They're both just waiting. Jack is definitely kind of like posing and like showing off a little bit. So you just know from this moment that Jack's definitely kind of a flirt.
Yeah.
And obviously Ennis is very handsome. So Jack's just kind of like leaning against his truck. He's kind of like fixing his hair. And Ennis is just like trying to like not look at him. Yeah. Very shy, reserved. So you get an idea of these characters in that moment. Eventually they go inside. Joe, opens the door, lets him in. He offers both of them jobs. And the job is to take his sheep through Brokeback Mountain to a specific area, I guess.
Yeah.
They were like herding, like pretty much making sure the sheep get there safely.
Yeah, I don't really understand. I think that there's some like legal issues with it. Yeah. Because basically like they have to make sure the sheep don't die on the mountain. Yeah. But I think it's technically illegal for them to be herding sheep on the mountain. So because of that, there's like this rule that he has where like they have to break camp every day, and like
so one of them is more keeping, I guess, track of the camp and like handling the campsite and food and stuff, while the other will sleep with the sheep to make sure coyotes don't get there, because they also have like cattle dogs with them, but obviously the cattle dogs aren't going to always protect them from the coyote. So that's like the main thing. So they meet up for breakfast, supper, and then they sleep separately at night doing their jobs, because it's a job. They're taking all these sheep. They're so cute, the sheep and the men.
Which, by the way, I don't know why, in all of my years, whenever I considered like the idea of like shepherding or whatever, I pictured like 10 sheep.
Max. In Jesus days.
Yeah. I was like, why do they need like a sheepdog to wrangle 10 sheep? You know, whatever.
And like 2 grown men with horses.
Right. I was just like, oh man.
Yeah, there were like
1,000. There has to be
not thousands, but it was like 100.
There were so many.
There were a lot of sheep. There was a lot of sheep. A lot of crossing like little rivers, and they're carrying the baby sheep, and just taking them to certain areas, and then they'll camp. And a few days like are going by, and throughout these days, Jack is definitely a big talker. Like he is talking a lot about himself and what he does. And he's trying to get Ennis to talk, and Ennis is very, like, quiet. He's a little reserved, but he ends up opening up a little bit. And we learn that he is going to marry a woman named Alma in November. And he grew up as a rancher. His parents, they didn't seem like good people. And they, I think, left. And he was mostly raised by his brother and sister. So he had a pretty rough upbringing, pretty like poor
I totally forgot about that part with the parents. Okay,
yeah. So, and then Jack, he briefly brings up his dad. He's like, oh, this works better than working for my old man. So you kind of get an idea like, okay, maybe the dad's kind of shitty. And he does like rodeo work. The horses or the bull's trying to kick you off.
And,
I don't know. And this is like, oh, like my dad said rodeo dudes are trouble, and well, Jack is trouble.
Yeah,
I just want to say, like, Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie is so fucking cute. I mean, he's always cute, but like, he just has the biggest blue puppy dog eyes. This whole movie,
he's just like
he's so
just
fucking
cute,
cute.
A sweet little face.
Yeah, he's just a sweet face. He's so cute, and Ennis is definitely like reserved and like handsome and mysterious.
Yeah,
and so Ennis is slowly opening more and more to him. He's like laughing more, and they're having more fun. And one night, well, I'll bring up this little tidbit, but Jack is being definitely a little flirty. It's obvious he's very into Ennis. And like at one point, Ennis was bringing supplies. His horse gets spooked by a bear. He falls off, and he gets like a cut on the side of his head. And Jack tries to take like a rag and like wipe it. And Ennis is like, whoa, like, don't do that. So I would say Jack is very ballsy.
Honestly.
Because you don't know this man.
This is the thing that, like, are there some, like, subtle... Like, I'm watching it and I'm not seeing any reciprocal from Ennis.
Yeah. Jack definitely kind of puts himself out there a little bit more.
Right.
Like, he's definitely a little bit more flirty and tries to get, that attention. And then men will either shut him down or not. And it's a little dangerous. This is 1963 in the the country.
Yeah, the
Wyoming.
Yeah, you're not in the city where it's like, I mean, it's still at that time
even then,
in the city, it's not like considered acceptable,
right?
But it's less like you're gonna get murdered.
Yeah. So Jack is being very, a little wild,
right?
And he's just lucky and doesn't just murder him. And the one night they both drank pretty heavily, especially Ennis. Ennis is like trashed. And Jack's like, well, you're too drunk to be going back to the sheep. Like, you should just stay here. You might as well sleep in the tent.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jack, stop. Chill, babes. And then Ennis is like, nah, I'm gonna sleep out here. And he like takes his blanket. And then, so Jack's in the tent. And then during the night, he hears Ennis like shivering, like it's fucking cold out. He's shivering, and Jack's like, "Get your ass in here!"
Yeah.
And Ennis, I'm gonna use their country accents.
I know, it was beautiful. I loved it.
So Ennis goes in the tent, and they're both laying there, and Jack just takes Ennis's hand and wraps it around him, and Ennis like stays there for like half a second, and then is like, "Whoa!" and like gets up real quick, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, Jack. Crazy.
That's what I'm like.
You crazy.
Ennis really was not giving any vibes.
No.
He was like, no, I'll sleep side.
Right.
And he still was like, let me try this play.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, boy.
Because then at that point, and I assume Jack is also drunk, or at least tipsy.
Yeah.
I would hope, because Ennis was, like, really drunk, and I'm sure he's still a little bit. But, like, Jack is, like, trying to kiss him. He starts, like, taking his pants off, and I was like, oh. I know. Like, oh my God. And then Ennis is like, I don't know, he gets, like, aggressive, and they have sex.
It's just, like, it's, like, a snap moment, and I was just, like, it's not what I expected at all.
Yeah.
I was expecting slow lingering build up and like glances.
Yeah, and like,
then like,
because I've always heard like, oh, the tent scene, and I was like, oh, and I'm like, this wasn't romantic. No. This was aggressive, and it was nothing. I'm like, people are babies. This was like nothing for a gay scene.
It was nothing, and I'm like, okay, maybe
I didn't get to see enough booty.
No, it was not
no booty.
There was just like kissing. And it was.
Well, they didn't even like kiss. Well,
no, you're right. They didn't kiss.
It
was just implied.
And it's just turned Jack around and did his biz.
And I'm like, you know what? Like maybe in 2005 this was like, oh my God. I mean, I literally it's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Now this is nothing. But yeah, I don't know back then if like
maybe
there just were no
was, but
male gay sex scenes.
Yeah,
so
but it was really. So mild.
Yeah. No, it was like nothing. Yeah. But I mean, in the context, it was pretty aggressive. Like, and
it was.
I mean, it was, I guess, consensual. Jack wanted it, and Ennis gave it to him.
Yeah, but
but also they were drunk.
It
wasn't the greatest situation.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they do that. And in the morning, Ennis kind of just like quickly like walks away. Yeah. He comes back later and he's like, I ain't queer. And then Jack's like, yeah, me either. And they were like, this is a, one-time thing, like, whatever. And it's like, all right.
Yeah, we all know.
And this gives in quickly because Jack's, like, laying in the tent, topless, cute as shit. And then it's just, like, crawls in. And this was nice. They, like, hold each other and, like, they kiss and stuff. At this point, you can kind of see that Ennis is very, I don't want to say traumatized. You find out later he is traumatized, but like he's I guess very just closeted, like very just unsure. Like he wants this, but he's trying to deny it so hard.
Which makes total sense.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, and as we go through, you'll know why. But like he is just like trying to deny it, and Jack's so open, and Ennis gives in, and they're. They kind of start this relationship and they're having fun with each other, they're like chasing each other, and like
they're playful with each other.
Yeah. And Joe Aguirre, I guess he went over to talk to Jack and he sees them like playing together, topless,
and kissing.
Yeah.
I think he sees them kissing.
Yeah, and so Joe's like, supposed to be watching my sheep.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say anything at first. So he comes back, like he goes there to tell Jack that his uncle
is like dying
of pneumonia. Yeah. Random. I don't know. Like I guess that's news to tell someone.
He went up there to tell him that, and then he was just like, can't do anything.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. So you might as well keep working.
Yeah, unless you can cure pneumonia.
Yeah.
So but then he comes back and lets Jack know, your uncle made it. This uncle never comes up in the movie.
Yeah.
But he also tells him that a storm's coming in. This is the important part.
Yeah.
And that's to just return the sheep back home. So it ends their job early. Yeah. And Ennis is very upset. Like he is like just kind of sitting gloomily.
Yeah.
And Jack's trying to like make him happy. He like lassos him and plays around.
Yeah,
and then
cute.
They play fight, which turns into a real fight.
Right, that was like
which is a little weird.
I definitely don't get that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, the dogs are.
Yeah, we have our children up here with us,
and they just
not behaving.
Can't handle themselves. I don't understand why it turned violent, and
I mean, I think it has to do with Ennis. Ennis is very aggressive, and he's definitely has a lot of pent up anger, and I think it just led to him just being upset, and he takes it out on Jack, and then Jack punches him, I think, and then Ennis punches him back. Or vice versa.
Right. Something happens and blood is spilled.
Yeah. Either way, they punch each other. It's like a lot of blood.
Right.
So they head back.
And they have to change their clothes and stuff because they're covered in blood.
Right. Yeah. So
and that comes into play later.
It does. Yeah, it does. So they head back. Joe's like, you did a shit job. Because at one point, their sheep got mixed in with another group of sheep. And they had a hard time splitting them up. One sheep did get murdered by a coyote when Ennis was staying with Jack in the tent.
To an extent, I can kind of understand why Joe was like irritated because they were definitely like fooling around on the job.
Yeah,
and not...
no, I don't blame Joe for being upset because he did lose some sheep,
right?
And it's their fault. Even if like they're just fucking around, like, literally.
I don't think like if it was a straight couple, I think he would have been just as upset. Like I don't think he.
Yeah, because I mean, sheep, that's money. Like he's a this is
his business. I mean, apparently he's doing some illegal shit, and he's definitely not like treating them well. But I can there's an extent to within which I can understand.
Right, he's paying them, and he's not paying them to fuck out in the woods. Yeah. So Jack's kind of like, you gonna be here next summer? And then this is like, oh no, I'm marrying Alma in November.
Right.
And then Jack's like, okay. And then Jack leaves, and Ennis just cry. Like, he's like sobbing. He starts like punching the wall.
Right.
He's just upset. And I'm like, man, Ennis needs like my poor boy. But this is probably his first like experience with a man.
I think it's 100% the first time he's even considered being with a dude.
Yeah.
And I think that it ended early. Like they were supposed to have more time together. And
it's like, when am I going to see this? I'm getting married, you know? So it's like, it's obviously just super upsetting.
Yeah.
So then we time skip a little bit. Ennis is getting married to Alma. Mm-hmm. And the priest marrying them, he's like, you may now kiss the bride, and if you don't, I will. And I'm like, so ew, weird. Alma's like definitely barely 18. And like this old man says that. But
so gross.
1963.
Yeah.
And they seem cute. Like, Alma seems very sweet, you know, sweet little country gal.
Yeah.
And, you know, Ennis is good to her, and they end up, like, having 2 kids. Mm-hmm. Alma Jr., which is funny because I don't think I've ever heard a junior that was from the mother.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that was like
my grandparents did it, but they didn't call her like Anne Junior.
Yeah.
She was just Anne.
Just Anne. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard like junior for a girl.
Right.
Which is cute. Then it at this point, it kind of cuts back and forth between Ennis and Jack, living their separate lives. And so Jack ends up going back to Joe the next summer, and he's like, you got any work? And Joe's like, not for you. And Jack's like, fair. And he's like, you seen like Ennis? Has Ennis been around? And Joe just looks at him, and you know, Joe's just like, you bastard.
Yeah.
And he tells him, y'all weren't getting paid to let the dogs babysit the sheep while you stem the rows. So I will say Joe definitely looks like a scumbag, but he also doesn't say anything about this, you know, gay thing that was happening.
Yeah, he doesn't. So, you know,
good on Joe for being somewhat of an ally.
Yeah.
So Jack's like, all right, fuck me, I guess. So he leaves. Time skip again, and the little girls are older. Jack is still doing rodeo work, and he's still kind of flirting around.
Yeah.
So one of the
so ballsy.
Yeah, one of the rodeo clowns was at the bar, not dressed as a clown.
Yeah.
Jack goes up to him, he's like, that's the best rodeo clown, like, I'm gonna buy you a drink. And like Jack just like has this look about him that's like,
it's very flirty.
Yeah, and the guy's immediately like, no, I can buy my own drinks.
Yeah.
And walks off. I'm like, Jack, you gotta fucking chill.
Like, I was so scared because like they're like looking back at him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god, are they gonna beat him up?
Right. Yeah, I thought that was gonna happen. I'm like, please.
Yeah.
And he's in Texas. This is Texas. And Texas is still horrible. So imagine the 60s. So later on he meets Lorene Newsom, and Lorene is played by Anne Hathaway, and she's gorgeous, stunning. This is when she was just finishing up Princess Diaries 2.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. Because I was reading, so I know a lot of information for this movie because I looked up a bunch of stuff about it. And Anne said that she showed up to audition with really big blonde hair because she was like, something with I don't remember Princess Diaries 2, but in the movie, does she have like her big like blonde like hairdo sometime in the movie, or
I don't remember her being blonde, but no, I don't remember. Be wrong. I could be totally wrong.
It's been so fucking long. But anyway, she says she showed up with like a huge hairdo, showed up to audition, and they were like, "Hey, you know how to ride a horse?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she did not know how to ride a horse. But
shut up.
Apparently, her mom gave her advice that said, "If anyone asks you if you know how to do anything, you say yes because you can teach yourself within 2 weeks." And I was like,
oh my God, amazing.
Pretty fair advice. So she got the role. Yeah. And I guess she learned how to ride a horse because she is I don't know the type of work, but it's, I guess, rodeo show related. She's just kind of,
she like did like speed, like it was like a time thing where you do like a figure 8 as fast as possible, which I don't know what the code word for that is.
Yeah, but I don't know. But anyway, she's stunning. Yeah. And she definitely has her eyes set on Jack. Like she's locked in. Yeah. And Jack asks the guy at the bar who she is, and he says that her dad sells expensive farming equipment, right. So her dad's got money. And I'm like, well, if you're gonna marry straight, marry rich. Right. So Jack is like, all right. But also Anne Hathaway's accent is so bad. It's awful. Yeah. I was like, girl, how did you get this role? You don't know how to ride a horse and your accent's terrible. But they were like, fuck it.
But it was like, I guess it was just at the start of her career, and she probably wasn't very expensive.
Probably not. But I mean, we love Anne.
Oh, so. We love Anne.
This is, so at this time, 4 years have passed since Ennis and Jack saw each other.
Which is so long.
So long. And Jack, Ennis gets a postcard from Jack. And Jack says that he's visiting town and he'd like, love to see him, get some drinks, whatever. And Ennis is just like, oh my God. Like he is just, like his energy just changes. Because he's like a fairly good father, husband.
For the time.
Yeah, for the time.
It's the 60s.
Yeah, he's working a lot, which, they don't have a lot of money. Yeah. So he's working like ranch stuff, and his wife's at like a grocery store. But he's very like, like at one point he dropped the kids off to her while she's working at the store, and it's like, I gotta go, like the cattle are, I don't know, giving birth or something. Right. He's like, I need to be there. And she's like, what the fuck? Which is fair. I'd be like, what the, like, hello? Yeah. And he's like, I gotta go, like my job's important. And she's like, what about mine? Yeah. And he just like gives her a look, and I was like, Ennis.
Yeah, that was
so not great. Anyway, so he gets this postcard from Jack, and he's just like, his energy, his aura just changes. Like he's so excited, and he's like, oh, it's like a good friend of mine. Blah, blah, blah. So Jack shows up to the house, and Ennis goes down to greet him. Yeah. And he's like, you son of a bitch. And I don't know if he says that, but he like hugs him. He hugs him, and then they like make out. And this is like,
they also are like, it's outside in an apartment complex where literally anyone could look.
Yeah. Anyone. And I was like, hello. Right. And Alma walks out, because why wouldn't she? Right. And she sees them just kissing on the stairwell.
God, could you imagine? Like, and it not even the it's just the fact that your husband is down there kissing someone else.
Yeah. 4 years. The trash.
Yeah. I would
4 years.
Devastated.
And it's like the 60s. Women didn't have a ton of rights.
No.
So it's like, cool. What do I fucking do?
Right. And I just can't, with the way she handles the situation.
Oh my God.
I could never.
So she's like in the house, and she is trying to hold it together. She is distraught. Yeah. And Ennis comes in, and he's like, it's Jack. We're going to go at the bar. You're not going to be home. And I'm like, oh. And honestly, if I didn't see him kissing, at this point, I would have been like,
right.
What's going on?
Right. Exactly. But the fact that she saw them kissing, it's like, oh, cool. No.
They're gonna go fuck.
Yeah.
Which they do.
Yeah.
They go to a hotel, and they're just pretty much talking about their lives in the past 4 years since they've seen each other. And the next morning, Ennis comes in the house, and he's like, oh, Jack and I are going on a fishing trip. Gonna be gone a few days. Yeah. And I'm like, Ennis, you bastard. And Alma's just like, obviously just upset still. Yeah. And
she of course doesn't say anything, because it's not like, I don't know, it's not the thing to do.
And the girls are like, oh, Daddy, you can be home at a certain time. He's like, oh, like, I'll try. Like, I know, like, I get it, but it's also like, you do have a family, and like, I feel bad for, especially like I feel bad for Alma and the daughters, because like,
this is, it's such a
not the vibe
conflicting situation where when I was watching this movie, I thought it was just gonna be cutesy, like, just a couple of dudes banging it on a mountain.
Yeah, I swore this movie took place 80% on the mountains. Yeah. And it was just them falling in love, and it's beautiful. And then, tragedy I knew something eventually happens. Right. And tragedy strikes. I didn't know it was like just this, and it's like very and it's a good story. It's just very like
it's real.
Yeah, it's very real, authentic, and it's tough at times, and it's hard. Like, there's no good or bad it's like everyone's just so gray.
There's like this middle area of the situation where you're like, you can understand it, but you also are like, that's not cool.
Because like for me, and I'll get more into Ennis, but I'm like, I just don't like Ennis. But like, you know more about him, and I'm like, I get it. I get it. Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, they go fishing, and Alma's just like sobbing after he leaves. Yeah. It's just horrible. And then so they're at the mountains like camping, and Jack is like, we can do this forever. Like we can get a ranch together. We can just do this. And Ennis is like, no, like we have our own lives. Yeah. That's it. Like we made our decisions. We can't do this. And then Ennis tells Jack about the time when he knew two older men that lived together on a ranch when he was a child, and one of them got brutally beaten and like killed, tortured to death. And
his dad took him to see.
Yeah, this man was thrown in a ditch, and Ennis's dad took him and his brother to look like to see that man. So at this point, you're like, okay, Ennis since that time had that thought in him, like who I am as a person is like that's what's gonna lead to, like if anyone knows. And so it makes more sense why he's so like constipated and just restricted and not open to it. And it makes sense, and Jack's just like listens, and he's like, okay, like I get it. But Jack is definitely a little more open, a little more free.
He doesn't have that same reservation.
Right. He didn't have that life that Ennis did. Yeah. They definitely grew up differently. So that's horrible. Yeah. And after this, Jack ends up making a few trips to see Ennis throughout the year. So he drives down or up to him?
Yeah. Jack is based in Texas. Yep. Ennis is based in Wyoming.
So same old thing. He visits him. They go to the mountains. They just back and forth. Right. Alma and Ennis get a divorce. Good for her. Yeah. I wasn't sure if you were like, I'm like, I think they could get divorces, but I wasn't sure if women had their own bank accounts. I really don't know.
I don't know that they do. Yeah. I think that it's like at this point in time, it was so taboo. Like that was the 70s they got a divorce. It was like not done.
Right. I do think that she might have had something going on with the grocery store manager. Because they kind of like hinted that he liked her a few years back. So I don't know if maybe like she kind of knew she had that to fall back on. Yeah. And got the divorce knowing that she would still be kind of taken care of. Yeah. So like maybe that's why. But anyway.
Yeah, they don't really like, I mean, she's very much a side character. Yeah.
But... And they show later that she does end up with him. So that's why I'm bringing that up.
Yeah.
But Jack is like super excited about this news. Yes. He got the news through the postcard. He goes to see Ennis. He's like, heard you got a divorce. Like, this is great. Yeah. And Ennis is like, yeah. And Jack's like, so, what's up? And Ennis is pretty much like, well, I'm seeing my daughters, blah, blah. And pretty much is like, we still can't have anything. Yeah. And Jack kind of took it as like, he left Alma to be with him. Yeah. So Jack's pissed off. He's like crying, driving home. And it's a little upsetting because it's like Ennis, like, that's where it comes back to like, I get it. I get where he's coming from. It's his dangerous times, and he's scared, and it's a lot of that. So I totally get it. But it's still upsetting because Ennis, like, you don't have anything tying you down. You got your daughters, and he's like, I don't take care of my daughters, but he hasn't been really a great dad. Like, right. I think Junior is the only one that still tries to keep a relationship with him, and Jenny is like, Dad sucks. Ennis still has a friendly relationship with Alma. He's there for like Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, which I really enjoyed. I was like, it's nice that they still have like a positive relationship, right? Because that could be something that goes sour.
Yes, and it kind of does a little bit, which I was a little confused because I was like, okay, like Alma's point of view, yes, like he cheated on her, but it's also like, if you're a true ally, you would understand like he can't be with who he wants to be, and it's like, I think for me, I would feel bad. I would just feel for him, and I'd want to still kind of have him around just because, make sure he's doing okay, because it's like he is the father of my children, like. Yeah. That's how I would take it, and that's how I thought she was taking it. I think she is to a point, but they have a conversation in the kitchen, and she, like, brings up Jack, and she's like, your friend Jack Twist, like, I knew what was going on. Every time you said you were fishing, like, you weren't. I left a note at the end of, like,
a fishing line?
Yeah, and was never, like, looked at, never touched. Yeah. So she's like, Jack nasty. It's a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
And Ennis gets furious, and he goes to, like, pretty much almost punch her. Like, he is, like, close, and she's screaming. She's like, get out, get out. And I'm like, damn, Ennis. Like,
yeah.
And so it's just, like, a weird conversation. Because I thought Alma was going to be very kind of open and sweet and kind of say, like, you know, you should go be with him, maybe. And it doesn't. But
I also wonder, like, this is one of those things where this movie just makes you think so much, because I'm like, okay, maybe that's also of the time, because she, like, she wanted him to find a woman to take care of him.
Yes.
And I'm like, does she want that so that he's safe and protected and no one thinks that
whatever?
Yeah. Or, I mean, because it's not, like, a time period where they're, like, people aren't openly... Well, not often openly living together or being with their significant other when they're of the same sex. So it is challenging where I'm like, is she being supportive, or is she, I don't know. It's like, it's a very confusing dynamic, and like, I don't like that she was saying what she was saying, and I do not like how he was reacting to her. I was like, dude,
very bad.
Not okay.
Yeah, not okay. And you know, and you have to remember, like, he did cheat on her. Like, whether or not it was with a man, like, doesn't matter. He still cheated on her. You know, she was very young. They had 2 kids together, and so it's I think it was just that coming up, and she's still, like, kind of upset with that. So like I said, everything's gray. Like, it's no one's truly the bad guy here, you know. Ennis threatening to punch her was a little up.
Yeah, that was definitely
not the vibe, no. Ennis. But anyway, he, like, leaves. At this point, he starts to feel a little paranoid. Like, people are kind of knowing who he is, like, what his preferences. And then we'll jump back to Jack, because I didn't really go over Jack too much, but his relationship with Lorene is kind of turning to trash. Like, she, you know, he's traveling a lot to see Ennis. And they have a son together named Bobby.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can't remember that kid's name.
It's Bill or Bob.
Yeah.
And so they only had the one kid together. His relationship with Lauren's dad is really bad. Lauren's dad, like, hates Jack.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I guess he just doesn't see Jack as a man.
Yeah, I think he also, like Jack didn't come from money, so he doesn't, like, bring anything to the table. He is... Like, Jack immediately just started working for the dad, and
so they're doing well, you know. Like, they have, I mean, she has mad money, so Jack doesn't really have to do his rodeo stuff anymore. And he's, like, working like as a salesman type of thing. And you know, for their Thanksgiving, the dad, and I was like,
dude, this was
the dad. So Jack, they take out the turkey, and he goes to cut, and the dad's like, oh, like, real man should be cutting the turkey. And I was like, oh, okay, you're in Jack's house. Yes. But anyway, he starts cutting it, and the kid's watching, like, a game on the TV, and Lorraine's like, don't watch the game while we're having dinner. Like, and I think Jack gets up to turn off the TV. He's like, your mom worked really hard on this turkey. Like, you're gonna sit down and eat.
Yeah, and the dad, snaps.
Yeah, and then the dad walks over to the TV, and he's like, you can watch it if you want. And
I was ready.
And Lorraine too. She was like, dad, like, stop, you know, like, stop trying to be macho alpha man here in this situation. And then Jack gets up and turns the TV off again, and he's like, no, like, he's gonna have dinner. And the dad goes to get up again, and he's like, if you get up again, you fat son of a bitch. It's my house. It's my house. Oh my god, I was like, yes, dude, tell this man.
Amazing.
And Lauren was like definitely happy about that.
She was thrilled. Because
the dad's just an asshole. Yes. Like, why? Like, and then Jack is up to cut the turkey.
Yes.
Taking his role as alpha male.
Yeah, which was amazing. That whole scene.
Yeah.
Like, great the best scene in the whole movie, I swear to God.
A great scene. So that's, like, Jack's life. So there.
And he does say at one point to, like, Ennis, he's like, his relationship with Lorraine is so easy that it could be done over the phone.
Yes.
Where I think they just, they get along really well. They coexist well.
Right. Because Lorraine, she's a businesswoman. She's doing work. She's doing her thing. Jack's doing his thing. You know, they probably don't have much of, like, a sex life at all.
No,
like, they have one kid together.
Yeah.
I'm just assuming. But
they don't show any of that.
Yeah, they don't show them having, they, like, at the very beginning, they show them getting together. Yeah. But, like, that's it. So you just get that idea of that's how their relationship is. That's the difference. And then on the next trip with Dennis. Ennis and Jack, they are at Brokeback Mountain again, and Jack brings up, because Ennis saying he's like, I feel like everyone knows, like, I'm a little paranoid, and Jack's like, well, you can move to Texas, like, and get away from the small town, and Ennis is like, no, I can't do that. Yeah. And I'm like, Ennis, please, stop.
Right.
So Ennis shuts him down again. Time skip. Ennis meets a woman named Cassie, and Cassie is young, hot, and spunky, and she is really into Ennis. And she is I forget the actress. She was Velma.
But she was in that Netflix series Dead to Me. You haven't seen it? It's so good.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, you should definitely. Genuinely, you would enjoy it. But yeah, I don't remember what her name is, but she's a good actress.
She's very pretty.
Yeah.
So she pulls off the blonde really well, which Anne Hathaway did not. Unfortunately, she is a brunette through and through.
Yeah.
So
same.
Yeah. Cassie really likes Ennis, and Ennis is like kind of like okay,
hard to get.
Yeah, and I mean Ennis is an attractive dude,
yes.
But I would be like, this dude's
not giving.
Yeah, he's not giving. So then we cut back to Jack and Lorene, and they're at like a social club or some sort of social event, and David Harbour is there.
I know.
Man. I was like, oh, my boo. So his name's Randall. Another cowboy. I just want to say everyone just looks better as a cowboy.
Yeah. No, I 100%. Admit this is weirdly giving me an interest in cowboys, which I wasn't expecting.
Like James Marsden, 10 out of 10. But James Marsden in Westworld.
Yeah.
Like,
fair.
Anyway, so David Harbour plays a man named Randall, and his wife, I don't remember her name, but she's a chatterbox.
Yeah.
And her accent's just as bad as Anne Hathaway's accent. Which I guess it was like a southern, they're trying to do like a southern belle.
Yeah.
But it's like an accent you do when you're trying to have a country accent.
Yes.
And you get that accent.
It's not like a natural twang.
Right.
Yeah.
Jack and Randall are out front talking. And Randall's like, well, like, the guy I'm working for has this cabin that I can use whenever. And he's like, do you want to go fishing or something sometime? And they both just, like, give each other a look.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God.
They gonna bang?
I can't say no to David Harbour. So that's, like, happening.
Yeah.
And then we fast forward again. And so this is, like, kind of the more climaxy scene. Yeah. So Jack and Ennis are together again. And they've been doing this for the past 20 years. This movie spans 20 years.
Yes.
Of their lives.
They do not age, obviously.
No, they all look the same. Jack has a mustache now. That's it. He has a mustache. Yeah. I mean, Ennis, you can tell, is like, they get a little bit older. I guess they're getting, I mean,
they're still
gradually.
They're probably only like 40 or something.
Yeah, well, Jack was 39 by the end of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ennis is talking to Jack about Cassie a little bit, and then Jack's like, yeah, like seeing this woman, and and he's definitely, it's definitely Randall he's seeing, but he's saying that he's seeing a woman.
He's making it sound like he's having an affair with the woman, which when he's saying this, like, Ennis doesn't care at all that he's gonna be like, oh, you're banging a woman, whatever.
He's like, oh, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. You crazy.
Yeah, you crazy bastard. So then Ennis is like, hey, like, I won't be able to see you in August. Like, I'll have to see you like November. And Jack's like blows up. He's like, I can't keep doing this. It's 20 years we've been doing this, seeing each other only a few times a year. Like, I can't quit you.
That's the iconic line. I just can't seem to quit you.
I can't seem to quit you. And he's really just spilling his heart out. And it's like, you just get this emotion because it's like 20 years, and you're like, you're just getting little glimpses of this man that you want to be with so bad.
You're being like waterboarded with the life you want.
Yes, exactly. And then Ennis gets like really upset, and because Jack kind of brings up that he like has an urge, like he needs to get it like filled, and so he's kind of seen, guys to kind of feel that urge. And Ennis is like, I'll kill you. He's like, I'll kill you if you see another man, like straight up to his face. And I was like,
which
Ennis,
yes, which is like very interesting because you look at the like how Jack was pretending like it was the woman he was having an affair with, and he doesn't care. But because it's a man, like, that's a special connection that he's like, you may not have that with someone else. where it's like, because Ennis obviously only is with Jack.
Right. Yes.
But like Ennis also has this ability to kind of like separate himself from his emotions, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas Jack is just very emotional and very like has, you know.
It's definitely like a water sign.
Yeah.
But like it makes me upset because Ennis, you know, keeps doing this to Jack.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't let him go. And it's like, okay, at this point, like, let Jack go. Let Jack be with someone that he can be with. Like, yeah, it fucking sucks. But like, you can't just keep teasing a, you know, carrot on a stick to this poor man, you know, and it just like makes me so mad. And Ennis like has a breakdown. He's like crying and then I feel bad again. I'm like, you bastard. Because he needs help. Like he does. Like you said, he just can't like, you know, his emotions and his feelings. He's just like can't talk about them and explain them, and it's because he's traumatized.
It's a very taboo.
Yes.
At the time,
right? And it's like, you know, he's just so scared of like what could happen, and like I get it, and it's really rough. So anyway. Ennis gets a postcard returned and it says deceased on it.
Yeah.
So he calls Lorene, Jack's wife, and asks what happened. So she tells Ennis that Jack died in a freak accident and pretty much he was like changing a tire, pumping a tire, exploded in his face, and he drowned in the blood before anyone could find him. But then Ennis pictured Jack being beaten to death, like a crime, you know, a
hate crime.
And it's never specified what it was. It could be either, you know, and Lorene's talking to him and she just starts like getting really emotional, and I think it's just because she knew like I think she just definitely knew that Ennis was the special person to Jack. You know, maybe she knew that it was like a hate crime and she didn't want to tell Ennis that. So like it's very open to interpretation, and how he died I don't think it matters as much. It's just he dies, and it's sad for everyone involved. Because Lorene definitely, you know, she definitely loved Jack, even though their marriage was shitty. I think she just definitely knew who he was, and you know, he was kind of probably fooling around with other guys, and
she kind of implies that as well, where she mentions that there's like other guy friends or other,
and you can kind of tell like the last time Jack and Ennis talk, you know, Jack kind of brings that up, that he just has this urge, and I think he could have been very irresponsible, and people could have found out, and so it for me personally, like I feel like it definitely could have been like a hate crime because the freak accident thing sounds too weird, but I mean,
it definitely
shit happens.
I think it's like it's heavily implied that that's what happens, but you also don't know if that's what happens. No. You don't know if she knew that he was, you know, having affairs. But what was interesting, and I looked this up. They had Anne Hathaway film that scene two different ways. Right. That one way was that she did not know at all that Jack was having affairs, and then one in which she did know. And then they took both those scenes and spliced them together in pieces. So to give you,
so it's definitely
you really have no idea.
You really don't know. And like I said, it doesn't matter as much, like how he died. And so she lets him know that part of his ashes were sent to his parents' house because he wanted those ashes to be released on Brokeback Mountain. And I'm like, oh. So Ennis goes to Jack's family home, and it's a very small, like cute little house, and you get the feeling that the parents knew who Jack, like about Jack, you know, that he was a gay man.
There was severe insinuation that the father knew,
because he was talking to Ennis. He was like, you know, he was always talking about Ennis Domar. I was gonna bring him up here. They were gonna have a little house together, help with the ranch. And then he said he was talking about another guy he was gonna bring up and have a ranch. And so you assume that was Randall was going to be with Jack. Yeah. And so from there it's like, okay, the father like knew, and then you get that feeling, okay, like he had a pretty decent life then, like to have parents that still like loved him. I don't know if the dad was maybe more strict. He seemed like he was kind of a hard ass, but like to still be open to Jack
having a relationship with him was
right. And then, you know, the mom left the room as it was, like, and that also gives a tell that she loved him no matter what, and so she left the room. So then Ennis goes to the room and he finds the shirt that Jack had when they punched the shit out of each other.
Not just that one, because if you remember,
because there was two shirts.
There were two shirts. So the one when they had, I forgot to mention this earlier, but when they had come down off of Brokeback Mountain that first time, after they fought, we said that they changed. Ennis was like, I can't believe I left my shirt up there on Brokeback. And, basically was like, he forgot it up there and didn't pack it. And it turns out that that's because Jack took the shirt with him to hold on to. So he found his shirt and Jack's shirt.
Okay. I thought it was maybe, but he wore
two shirts, was kind of like a jacket, layered, but no, it was both of their shirts.
That's even more sad. So anyway, there was still some blood on the cuffs, and it just starts crying, and he ends up taking the shirt. He's like, "Can I take this?" Mother's like, "Of course," and she thanks him, and she's like, "Come visit us." She gives him the ashes. They don't show him.
No, they don't give him the ashes.
Oh, they don't?
The dad was like, I'm not giving you the ashes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which I think kind of shows that he was even though he had the relationship with his son, he wasn't supportive.
I completely blocked that shit out. Yeah. Then. I thought he...
Yeah. Okay. No, he didn't.
So that's probably why they didn't show him...
scattering them.
Yeah, because that would have been rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he takes the shirts, and at the very end, Ennis has a trailer home. And Junior goes to see him, and she's an adult now, and she's like, I'm getting married, and I want you to be there. And Ennis is like, okay, I'll be there for you. And
right. At first, he starts saying I
might have to work.
I have to work. I have the whatever cowboy things he has to do.
The same story since she was a baby.
Yes, it's always something else coming up, something else coming up, and then he pulls out some liquor, he pours them each a glass, and he makes the decision that he's fuck the job.
Gonna be a dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be a good dad here. Because Junior's the only one I think that just still has a relationship with him, she still, loves him as her dad. And so, that makes her really happy. And she leaves. She leaves her cardigan, and he goes to put in a closet and hanging up the shirts with a little postcard from Brokeback Mountain. And it ends. And so it ends very just sad, it seems like Ennis is kind of moving on a little bit, and he's just a broken man, but he does seem I don't know, better.
There's definitely a learning.
Yeah.
He did learn a little, and I think that the moral of the story is that by the end, he learns to prioritize the people in his life instead of the job. Yes. Which I think he's always had this kind of chokehold. The job has always had a chokehold on him.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's sad.
It's a sad movie.
It's sad. So my most memorable scene was probably their makeout scene in front of his house.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
It was a little crazy.
Yeah, it was intense.
And out just in front of everything. Yeah, I'm like, Ennis, this goes against everything.
Everything, because the thing is, if he wasn't afraid of being caught, that'd be one thing.
Yeah.
But he was terrified of being caught.
Right. I don't know. I guess after 4 years.
Yeah,
you see this man you've been dreaming of for 4 years, and it's it just takes a hold of you.
Yeah.
And then the scene that should be deleted is the last time they see each other, because I was so sad. Oh. It was so sad. Aww. It was so sad. And then they even threw in a clip of them when they were first together, and you can tell because Jack didn't have his mustache anymore. Yeah. And it's the famous he's holding Jack, Aww. And I was like, yeah. Not good vibes. Aww. So, love interest. I wasn't sure if it was Jack or Ennis because they were both main characters.
Right.
So Jack, I know either would not want me. That's first of all.
Yeah.
Jack, I would smash. Ennis, I would pass because he just has a lot of issues going on.
Yeah.
And it's just not for me.
Yeah.
Side character, I put Lorene. It could have been a many people, but I chose Lorene because it's Anne Hathaway, and I would definitely say how likely are you to fall in love with this situation? I said 2, because it's a really rough situation. Yes. I think after 5 or 6 years, I would have been like,
yeah,
I'm cutting it.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's a different situation because I never had to not be able to be with someone.
Yeah.
I love because of my sexual preference. Right. So I don't know. But for me personally, I said 2 was pretty low. And I would recommend this. It was a good story. It was very drama, romance. And it's, for me, I'm not really into slice of life type of movies. But I think this still was a good movie. So I would recommend it. Let's see. Things of note, movie is very long. I I think it's like 2 hours and 14 minutes. So it's not super long, but I think it just felt long because so much, like, their years, like, their life is happening.
Just, and then there's, like, when you are experiencing it, they do, it is that slice of life. You're seeing, like, some mundane moments.
Right, and I definitely skipped, like, a lot of very small details, you know, for both of their lives. And I said, Jake, stop looking at me with those big blue puppy eyes. Why does someone always need to die in romance dramas? Jack deserved better, and this is broken. I get why, but he kept making me mad.
Yeah, fair enough.
My final rating, I gave it 3.5, which feels a little low, but it was a good movie. I do think it was a good movie. I think, like, for me personally, I would not watch it again because it was sad. Yeah. But also, like, it was, like, it felt a little long for me. But it was good. So.
No, it's definitely a good movie. It's also, it's sad, and then it does play into those, like, you have trouble rooting for them because of, like, their flaws, and it's, like, that makes it more challenging, and I think that that's also another, like, if Ennis had been, like, this sweet man the whole time, you probably would be, like, even, you know, you'd like it more, but at the same time,
but it's, you know,
it's not real.
It is good to have flaws, so I think Ennis was a well-written character, even though he frustrated me. I was also very much, like, I understand. So I think that's a good character, a good flaws in a character. So that was Brokeback Mountain.
So my movie was Nope, as I said earlier. It's horror, but it's also kind of sci-fi. Director Jordan Peele, released 2022. Snapshot. OJ is struggling to make ends meet after the sudden death of his father. A series of strange events leads him to believe a UFO is visiting, proof of which could save his farm. I was very excited going in because I do love Jordan Peele's movies. Even though I'm not, like, a horror fan, they're just very well written, very well done.
And it's interesting stories, very, like, Twilight Zone kind of vibe.
So you get something that's, like, kind of eerie, kind of spooky. So this one, I did not go in having any knowledge of what it was about. So I was like, great. Nope, sure. Let's find out what's Nope. So I was not expecting any of what I ended up getting. I was like, I kept, like, I made a couple of, like, had a couple thoughts. So I'll go through it. Okay. So the movie opens on a bloody scene with this killer monkey. There's this shoe that's standing straight up. And just, like, hovering in midair. There's blood everywhere. Someone seems to be dead. It looks like it's a kid. And then all of a sudden the monkey looks to the viewer, and then it changes scenes.
Horrifying.
Yes. And I was like, oh, don't like this already.
I hate, not that I hate chimpanzees, but they honestly scared the shit out of me. So that scene, I was like, oh. Yeah.
Because they can kill.
They can fuck you up.
Yes. Good. I mean, you just hear that news story about the woman, like, you know, not recently.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah, the one where it ripped her face off.
Yeah. So scary.
Already nope.
Nope. So then it switches to, there's a man setting up a horse farm and chatting with his dad about, like, some prospects. So, well, first of all, that was like I rewrote it to be more concise. Let me break it down more. So, a man is feeding horses.
Yes.
So we get the horses.
It's the horses.
And then I'm watching this. I'm like, in my heart, I'm just trying to pretend this isn't scary. This was the first movie so far that I've watched by myself.
Oh, okay.
So I was, like, completely alone watching it, and I was just like, oh, I hope this isn't bad. I was like, then there's, like, this horse running machine. I didn't know that was a thing that existed.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then I realized that it was the guy from Get Out, who's the main character in Get Out. And I was like, ooh, Jordan Peele must like him.
Yeah, Daniel Kaluuya?
Sure.
Yeah. He's great.
I'm sure you're right. Then all of a sudden you start hearing, like, this kind of, like, screaming noise and this, like, metallic pinging, and things are, like, clearly falling from the sky. And then you look over, like, he looks over to his dad, and he's not, like, responding. And he falls off the horse that he was sitting on. Son, who we later learns named OJ, the son takes the dad to the hospital. He rushes. It turns out it was a quarter that fell from the sky. And at this point I wrote, are they in an arcade machine?
Like a fucked up Wreck-It Ralph. Oh my my god, I wouldn't put it past Jordan Peele to do something like that.
Yeah, I was ready. I was ready for something a little strange. So,
oh, that's funny.
Basically, you see the dad's eye was like completely gone. Yeah. It had gone through his brain. He had died, unfortunately. So sad beginnings. So then you see the Muybridge picture of the running horse, and I was just like, ooh, my little art history heart loves this. And they're in an acting studio. And there's like this fancy female actress. And when she finds out that OJ's name is OJ, she's like terrified as if he also is a murderer. Yeah. I'm like, okay, lady.
All right, try not to be a little racist.
Right. So then OJ overhears two people talking, and they're basically confirming that space junk fell out of a plane and killed the dad. And they're supposed to be having this safety meeting because OJ is there at this place because he is a horse trainer for movies. Yes. So they have stunt horses, basically. And so they need to do a safety training. And people keep trying to go up to the horse, and he's like, stop, we need to do the safety training. Right. So OJ clearly does not want to be there. Like, he is not happy.
And he's just, like, not a social person. Like, you just know he's just not into, any of that.
Yeah, exactly. He's like,
it's a little awkward.
Yes. He's like, my sister's going to be here soon. She's going to go over everything, but she isn't there. So he has to start the safety meeting. And he's just like, oh my God. Yeah. Like, just miserable. She is way better with people. Very charismatic. Comes on stage. Tells this whole, like, story about how, like, the Muybridge was the first ever moving film with the star being a black man, and no one ever knows his name. But guess what? It's her great grandfather. So since the start of movie history, their family has been handling the horses. So it doesn't feel like a lot of safety information is shared at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty much talking like, she is very much just talking about like, oh, look how cool. Whereas OJ is more, he cares more about the animals and the horses. Yes. And then, I forget her name. I know Keke Palmer plays her. And she's very much like, oh, like, this is great. And you can tell she kind of doesn't really handle like that type of stuff. No. It seemed like it's more like the dad and OJ kind of did that, and she's just kind of doing her own thing.
Yeah, and she's like, also, by the way, I'm an actress and singer and performer and blah, blah, blah.
It's a little,
She's just giving herself plugs.
Yeah.
And then there was this great line I had to write down that one of the people said, hey, OJ, can you tell the horse we're ready to do one?
Yeah, they're all like assholes. Like, they're not taking any of it seriously. And it's like, this is an animal. This is a horse, and they're a little scary.
Very powerful.
And it's like, you have to be a little respectful. And they're obviously just not giving a fuck.
No.
Like, they're like, oh, okay.
They're clearly not, and they're just like shoving things onto the area with the horse and all this kind of stuff. And OJ's like, no, knock it off. Like, you're upsetting the horse. Yes. But he's not being like super vocal about it. He's being kind of like, stop.
Yeah.
And then so the horse freaks out and it like rears back and kicks like a bucket of sand or something. Luckily, it wasn't someone's head.
Right. Because the horse, someone brings in like, I don't know, a camera or something like.
Yeah, something reflective.
And the horse looks and sees itself and freaks out.
Yeah, and gets scared. And so then you see they basically get fired from the job and they bring in like an animatronic horse instead. I'm like, okay. Because they're going to CGI this horse.
Yeah.
So they're driving back from this, and the sister is like kind of joking around, saying she doesn't feel very loved, whatever. And you can see all these like dancing car thing. I forget what those things are called, but they're like the wavy arm dudes.
The balloon dudes.
Yeah. They're like little machines that are lit up, and there's like, I wrote it down because I have never seen that many colors before. I feel like I've only ever seen like green and red or orange or whatever, but there's like pink and yellow and like all these ones. And they come up to this place called Jupiter's Claim, which is like kind of like Westworld-y. It's like Westworld like a little kids.
Slice of the cowboy western life.
Exactly. There's like this well that like takes pictures, like you hand cranks pictures, and there's I don't know, just like saloons.
Just like live life as it was, I guess.
Apparently. So then OJ goes to talk to the guy there, Jupe, and you learn that he's sold 10 of the horses so far, and I guess they're just trying to scrape by. He is not currently very successful. The dad was super successful with their business, but he is not doing as well.
And these are, correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say that OJ is not selling them completely to Jupiter, but he's getting money to like rent, I guess, so Jupiter can use them for like his shows. But
he's basically saying like he's trying to lay the groundwork to buy them back.
Yes. Yeah.
Is basically what he's saying. He's like, he wants to get them back, and you can hear in Jupe's voice, he's kind of like hesitant about that.
Right.
He's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's like, you don't feel very comfortable with that situation. The sister's there, and she's kind of like looking at all this like memorabilia and stuff, because turns out that Jupe was a child actor. And he says this one line. He says, "Su casa es mi casa," which was amazing. Your house is my house. I'm like, come on, dude.
Yeah, because he seemed more, and it could be because he's trying to change conversation, but he seemed more interested in talking to Em about his child actor life than to talking to OJ about the horses.
Exactly. And so they ended up like, she sees this Mad Magazine cover that was basically that monkey that we saw at the beginning, covered in blood on like a birthday party set thing. And so you end up seeing that behind this, there's like this secret door, and it's this actual shrine to this event, where you learn that Jupe was a child actor on a show called Gordy's Home.
Yeah.
Okay. Called Gordy's Home. And he was like the little boy on the show who was like best friends with the chimp, and they had like this special exploding knuckle punch that they did together. And he was there on set the day that the chimp went crazy and killed a bunch of people, or like went, hurt a bunch of people. He basically like is like talking all boisterously about it.
Yeah, this traumatic fucking event.
Yeah, and he's basically like, oh, if you saw the SNL skit, you've seen it all. And he kind of describes this SNL skit.
It's crazy.
Which also feels very insensitive.
Yeah, it's like this event where a chimpanzee murdered a majority of the cast.
Yes.
Like, live. This was in front of a live audience.
Yes. Horrible. And so he's talking about it very like boisterously, but then you do a flashback and it shows the fear that he had felt on that day.
Yeah.
So there's clearly a lot of trauma there that he has not handled.
No, and he's just kind of like that little, I guess, little mini museum. He like has people pay extra to see it. So he's just kind of like using his trauma as like, it's like, oh, I can get money from this. It's like, that's fucked up.
Yes. And that's, you come to find out that he is very money oriented. Like he wants to make money however he can. We find out that Jupe offered to buy the ranch, and he obviously does not want to sell the ranch.
Yes.
The sister is like wanting to get drunk together or whatever, and then he tells her, he's like, I got that hobby weed. He grows his own weed. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. So Em is talking about how like the dad prioritized work over her. He one time promised that she'd be able to train her own horse, and got her this horse called Jean Jacket. And on her birthday, when she was supposed to be able to like start training this horse, which I guess was something that she was really excited about, he gets this deal to have the horse train in a movie, or be in a movie. And he starts training it himself so that he can make that money. And so you see that, like, he's prioritizing the job over her. Yeah. And that clearly impacts her and, changes how she views the whole business.
Right.
And then on that day, like, the dad never once looked up into the window to see the daughter staring out. But OJ, who was helping the dad, that was the first time he was ever helping the dad do a training session. He looks up and he does like that fingers to the eye, fingers to the window thing. So he's showing her that he's seeing her.
He's seeing her, yeah.
And, that meant a lot to her. So then the title screen Ghost comes up. So we're changing chapters. So there's like this really beautiful view out. And I was like, ooh, that's really nice. I can see why you wouldn't want to sell that ranch.
Right. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And then the sister M is putting on the music really loud. And he's kind of like trying to tell her to stop, but she obviously can't hear him. And then Ghost, the horse, there's like this all white horse.
And is this his horse? Because they both have like kind of a main horse. Well, like M's was like the dad. Okay.
So this was the dad's horse, because this was the horse the dad was on at the beginning of the movie. Like a key fell into its butt, the poor thing.
Yeah.
So this was the horse the dad was on, and you learn throughout that this horse just will not be trained. They cannot break this horse, and there's some line the dad says about that I can't remember. But basically Ghost jumps the gate over and runs away. And OJ is handling all of this very calmly, where I feel like I would have been a wreck. Right. Like, oh my God. I know. I'll be like, that is someone under my care. I'd freak out. Not to mention he's like in desperate need of money, and horses are expensive. Oh yeah. OJ has to chase it in this like little AV buggy thingy. I don't know if AV is the right word, but whatever. Off-roading vehicle. And he stops at one point, and you can hear in the distance the Jupiter's claim. There's like a voice talking really loudly saying like something amazing is about to happen. It's been happening every Friday for the past 6 months. And then like all the lights dim and go off one by one, including at the house, and all of a sudden something flies by in the sky. It was like very ominous seeming, and you're like, ooh, what happened? And you don't really know if OJ heard what was going on at Jupiter's claim, but he definitely saw what happened in the sky. So he rushes home. Sorry, Ghost, you're to the wind now.
You're Ghost.
Yeah. And then he rushes home, and he asks the sister, like, is there any such thing as like what's the word for a bad miracle?
Right.
And he's like telling her about what he saw, and she's like, listen, if we can get a good picture of this UFO, we're gonna make mad money. We're gonna save the ranch.
Get the shot.
Yeah, exactly. So they both decide, they're like, okay, cool, let's do it. They go to this store with all this,
Best Buy.
Yeah, basically. And they get all this stuff for like setting up outdoor cameras or whatever. And then they're at the checkout line. There's this guy, Angel.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're not gonna be able to install this alone.
Yeah. He's really like pushing it.
Yeah, he's really pushing it. They're like, so basically he's like, do you want the install package? And they're like, no. And he's like,
yeah.
And they're like, what? Is it hard to install? He's like, not for me, but for you. So they end up paying the extra to get him to come and install.
And at this point, does he know they're trying to grab a photo of a UFO?
So I don't know if yet. It's implied. So basically at this point they had said at the checkout line, he was like, oh, these cameras have like a backup battery. And he was just like, yeah, well, what OJ was like, yeah, well, what if
does it last if like the powers go out?
Right. Yes. And he's like, well, what if, it's something else that turns them on? He's like, well, unless you're experiencing a UFO event.
Yeah.
And there's kind of like a look that passes. Yeah. And so I think he's kind of like getting the idea of, like that's, I think he knows at this point.
And he gets like very excited at that idea.
He's super into
see a UFO.
And you find out that he knows a lot about UFOs. Yes. So he clearly like really wanted in, and maybe that's why he was saying that stuff about the installation, just so he could get like to see whatever. So he gets there and he's like, oh, I just got to have a 4-year relationship, blah, blah, blah. He's like oversharing.
And Angel's like so funny to me. Like he's such a funny character.
I loved his character because he was just such a good comedic relief.
Yeah, him and M.
Yeah,
like they're so fucking funny.
They're hilarious. So like, and then at that point, M ditches. She's like,
she's
I have on OJ. Yeah. OJ's like, what the hell? So the guy's like showing OJ pictures and whatever.
Yeah.
And they're testing to see like how high up the camera can go. And I think this is when he definitely knows they're trying to get a UFO because he's like getting it all the way
pointing up.
Up. So then he just starts going on about aliens, talking about ancient aliens, History Channel, blah, 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 blah. The sister comes back and she has stolen a gigantic plastic horse with like flags on it from Jupiter's claim. And Angel realizes at this point that there's some shady shit going on. And I wrote down that him trying to help is actually really funny because basically Jupe comes around and he's like, hey, and she's like, hey, you could stop right there. and then Angel's just like, how's it going?
Yeah, it's like
just like adding to like
part of the crew now.
Right? Dude, you've been here for like 10 minutes. So that was like genuinely super funny. He is just like, Angel's just dying to know what they've got. He's like, I'll monitor for you.
Yeah, yes.
Like remotely, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They're like, no, we've got this. Don't worry about it. And so I was really worried that this was the last we were gonna see of Angel. I was like, oh man, I really liked his character. So it said, then we switched to the title screen, Clover. You know, you're seeing it goes to the decoy horse, and I was just like, is that the name of the decoy horse? It's not. It's not the name of the decoy horse. Okay. And then you see the sisters like living off in a trailer, which you never really come back to this. Nothing's explained there.
No, like she's just mostly separate herself from the ranch, and she's not doing great herself. Like she is like kind of like a small time actor, singer, anything to get money. So she's just kind of living on her own there. There's
lights on in the barn, and so he goes to go turn them off, and they come back on. And then all of a sudden these like creepy little creature faces come out. And I was like, there are aliens. I was like, at this point, I was like so suspicious. I was like, there's no aliens.
Right.
I was like, there's no way. This is going to be some other phenomenon.
Like a twist.
Yeah. Because I'm waiting for that classic Jordan Peele. I'm like, no way is Jordan Peele writing about aliens.
Right.
Spoiler alert, he is. So there's these like creepy creatures that are like slinking towards him.
Yeah.
And couldn't be me. He tries to get a video.
Yeah, he tries to get a video.
I'm like, dude,
get the shot. The shot.
I know. I'm like, I would have been running.
Yeah.
And he's using those words. Nope.
Yeah. Nope.
He keeps. I meant to Google how many times they say the word nope in the movie because
I know,
every
I said
time
it a lot watching it.
Yeah. I was like, there's no fucking way. So it turns out that they're kids in costumes.
Yes.
Which honestly feels so dangerous. Like I would have probably. If those had gotten close enough to me, I would have kicked them right in the face.
Yeah, yeah. And doesn't he, like, hit at one of them because they get too close? I think he does smack one.
I don't know. But, yes, he does. He does. And he smacks him and the helmet, the mask. The mask comes off or whatever. So basically you find out that it's Jupe's kids.
Yeah.
And they let Clover out. They like basically released the horse Clover from the barn, which is so messed up.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. They stole a gigantic plastic horse from you.
Yeah.
You're going to release which by the way, I've Googled how much horses cost.
How much?
So horses go from anywhere from I'm a horse girl now. Horses go anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000. One would be for untrained.
Yeah.
3 would be for very well trained. So I'm assuming this is like a $3,000 horse or whatever, and that's a lot. Aside from the fact that that's a living creature that you care about and want to take care of, that's that's an expensive loss.
Yeah.
So your plastic horse was definitely not $3,000. I don't think.
No, absolutely not.
I wouldn't assume. Anyway, so it's super lame. They let Clover out. Then we go back to Angel, and I was like, yes. So Angel is like monitoring the cameras remotely.
He's monitoring their cameras.
Yeah,
from
which
work,
is like,
right? He's at work.
Yeah, which is so creepy, but so funny. So I guess like a praying mantis like showed up on the camera, and at first it like looks like there's this alien creature looking on the camera, but then you realize Angel calls M, and he's like, "There's a bug on the camera."
Get the bug off the camera.
There's a bug on camera A. Camera B is down. And I was just like, this is amazing.
He's so funny.
So good.
The best.
OJ gets Clover, and Clover doesn't want to go back to the farm. And all of a sudden, like, lights start going off, and Clover runs. And then there's, like, this tornado you're seeing. And all of a sudden, that tornado, like, sucks up the plastic horse. And all the horses in the barn are freaking out. And OJ just goes, I was like, OJ.
OJ's reactions are just so, like,
yeah. And I'm like, bro, I would be beside myself.
I mean, he lives in the country. I guess he sees some shit.
I mean, I guess.
Couldn't be me.
So M runs onto the roof. She's trying to get the bug off the camera so they can get this shot by throwing Sour Patch Kids at them. I'm like, dude, come on. I wrote horse abducted, which I'm assuming it was just the plastic horse, or did it also take up the other horse?
It does take up a horse. I forget if it's Clover or Ghost, but it does suck up a horse.
So sad.
Yeah.
I think it's probably Ghost. I don't know. I'm just making shit up. I should be more detailed in my notes, obviously.
The one that was shown, I think, is just a plastic horse, but one of the horses does get taken up. So you can hear it.
Ugh, awful. Okay. So, basically, OJ gets back to the house. M wants to leave, and OJ's like, nah, I got mouths to feed, I can't leave. And I get that. You can't abandon your horses. So then you get a flashback scene. And so it's a flashback to the dad saying some animals aren't fit to be trained. And, basically talking about Ghost in that moment. So then, basically, M is trying to contact the director from their last film.
Yes.
The one they got kicked off of.
Yep.
And wants to have somebody who's going to be able to get this, like, on camera.
Yeah, he's a very, like,
artsy?
Yeah, artsy, kind of, like, annoying type of...
Yeah,
like,
pretentious.
I only use natural... Pretentious.
Yes.
I only use natural film. I don't use this new digital shit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, of course, what they want is film, because they want to make sure that...
it's authentic.
Yeah. And that it won't go down when the lights and power and everything goes down. So then the director, like, gets off the phone with them. He's like, whatever, good luck. Because obviously, I mean, anyone tells you that they see an alien, you're like,
he's like, okay.
Good luck. So Angel comes back and he's like, I found something. And basically he points out that there's this cloud that isn't moving. And he shows footage and he like speeds through, and you see that there's this cloud in the sky that is not moving. So this is clearly some alien something that's like hiding. Then you get a new scene title, Gordy. Okay. It's the happy birthday scene, and that's when that balloon pops and the chimp loses it. And so it's like the year is 1998. The little boy Jupe has to watch this situation where the monkey, I wrote, killed the girl. You later find out that the girl did not die.
Yeah, right.
So he watches as that girl is like being beaten to a pulp, and then the male actor, like the dad of the show, gets killed by the monkey. And then Gordy the chimp sees Jupe and comes closer. So like that's like that scene where like at the beginning of the movie where the monkey looked at the camera. It was looking at Jupe. And then he walks up and he like lifts his hand up for a fist bump.
And there's also like kind of like a sheer veil covering Jupe's eyes, which is important.
Oh.
So it kind of...
I didn't even think about that.
So like the whole thing of like animals, like you're challenging an animal by looking in their eyes, and the Gordy doesn't see Jupe's eyes like that, and he kind of calms down because he does have a good connection with like he knows Jupe, and he goes to give him like a bloody fist bump. I didn't even think
about that. That was good.
That was, I didn't notice the first time I watched it. And the second time I was like, oh, picking things up.
So good. And so then as he lifts his hand up for the fist bump and then Jupe's lifting his hand up, then the chimp gets shot and the blood splatters all over Jupe.
Horrifying.
So
it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Jupe as an adult, I'm like, man, this
dude,
I would not be able to function.
No, you would need severe therapy, and even then,
yeah, I don't know.
So then you change the scene, and it's Amber and Jupe. So him and his wife. Amber is his wife. The only reason I know this is because of the subtitles. I don't like. He might have mentioned her name at some other point. She's like massaging his hand, and he like starts going over his lines. Yep. Where he's like, 6 months ago, blah, 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 blah. You're going to see something amazing. Title change, Lucky. So then you see that Angel's like tarping the cameras. He's like, am I raining? It's make sure they're okay.
Angel's just around all the time now.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm like, dude, 10 out of 10. At this point, OJ finds the flyer for this event that they have, the new event, that is the thing that is being talked about every Friday, blah, blah, blah. The camera then switches to Jupiter's claim, and you see that Jupe is out there. And I was like, I wrote that his outfit is pretty fly.
Yeah.
Kind of loved it. It was like this all red, like cowboy outfit with like white stars and the frill. Yeah.
Yeah. Steven Yeun is pulling off the cowboy.
Yeah.
Like I said, everyone looks better as a cowboy.
I know. I was like, listen, I'm here for it. So then you learn that Mary Jo, his co-star, is there, and she was the one who was laying on the ground, and she's still alive, but she has like this veil on, so you know that she's really got like her face got really messed up. There's this weird quote, "You're chosen," which I don't remember what it's in reference to. Why'd I write that down? I don't know. Do you remember?
I think he might have said it to himself.
Oh, yes, he totally does. He whispers.
Yeah.
He turns and he whispers and he goes, "You're chosen."
And this is where the trauma comes back in.
Yeah.
Because, well, explain the scene, I know.
Okay. So basically he's telling everyone that there's a flying saucer, which at that point I would have been like, goodbye.
Yeah. Out. But I guess people, they don't have anything to do in that small town.
Exactly. You're like, might as well see what this is all about.
Yeah.
And he calls the UFO and the creatures who are on the UFO, the viewers.
Yes.
And you learn that he's basically been baiting the UFO with these horses. So he's been like buying horses off of OJ, and he's been feeding them to this freaking UFO.
Horrible.
Awful. And so basically he opens the gate, he like releases the horses, but it's not time yet. So he's like, "Oh, my sons are gonna entertain you with some weird."
Yeah. And that's where all the like alien masks came from, because they have some like souvenirs. And it's kind of like a weird little alien.
They've turned it into this whole like thing you can monetize.
Debacle.
Yeah. So then all of a sudden the UFO's coming early, and he's like, "This has never happened before. This is brand new, folks. Let's just see. Don't get up. Don't move. Let's just see what happens." And he's trying to get the horse to go out. So it's the horse from the beginning of the movie. He's trying to get Lucky to get out of the little like pen that he's in, and like he will not go. And then he goes, "Trained animals can be unpredictable."
Yeah, no shit. You experienced that.
Right. And then the UFO coming closer is causing like wind to go, and then so you can see Mary Jo's face, and it's like really she's had horrible scarring.
Horrifying,
yeah, just that she's been through some shit, and then all of a sudden everyone gets abducted.
Yeah,
everyone gets abducted, and you realize that it's not a UFO, it's a creature, and they're all being like sucked up into its like throat, and they're screaming, and I felt so uncomfortable watching this.
That scene is so rough. Like it is like you're seeing these people like just going through like a digestive system pretty much, and they're screaming, and
it's just so claustrophobic.
Yeah. And I saw like the behind the scenes, and they actually had people go like through like a system, and I'm like, no. No.
There's no way.
So yeah, that scene, like for me, I'm like, no. Oh, I hate that scene.
Yeah, that was actually,
and you can just hear them like screaming, and like from the outside you can hear like an echoey scream, and it's just people being digested slowly.
Horrible.
Like it's terrifying.
I know.
But that was the
and I was still so hopeful at this point. I was like, OJ's gonna shoot down the alien and save all the people.
This is gonna be just like Men in Black.
Yeah.
Gonna save the day.
No one's gonna die. So OJ gets to Jupiter's claim.
Oh, sorry, I actually wanted to say that the reason why Jupe says that he's chosen is because of what happened with Jordan. He thinks that he's kind of invincible. So like when this alien's coming in, he's like, I can do whatever. Like these animals, these things are not going to attack me because I'm like the chosen one.
Oh,
but
that's so...
joke's on him.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was wondering to myself, I'm like, I know that there has to be a tie-in with the whole Gordy scenes.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what that tie-in was. I hadn't made the connection. There's so much to think about with this.
There really is. There's a lot to this movie.
He really, like, Jordan Peele's movies, he, like, gets freaking deep. There's layers.
He does get deep.
Yeah, and I have not uncovered all the layers, for sure. So, OJ gets to Jupiter's claim, and it's, like, a ghost town. No one's there. There's, like, there's weird like automated announcements going, but you know, nothing's going on. There's a pig on the roof somehow. Don't know how that happened. It's like, okay. But Lucky was safe because he never left the box that he was in. Yeah. He was like in this pen that was like covered, so he didn't get pulled up by the creature. The creature is coming up close to him. And by him, I mean OJ. So he's like running around and he gets like knocked over. He wakes up. It looks like he's covered in blood or mud or something. Yeah. He's like, something happens to him, but he manages to get Lucky in the trailer and start heading back to the house. So Angel's still at the house.
Of course.
He's trying to leave at this point, and all of a sudden his car like turns off.
Yeah.
And he's like, suddenly has this realization. He's like, oh shit, the alien's coming for me. So he books it back to the house. Angel grabs a knife and runs under the table. And M can hear like screaming coming from above them. So basically the creature is above the house and all of the people that are being digested, you can hear them. And all of a sudden the screaming stops. All this inorganic matter starts falling out. Yeah. So like car keys and whatever came up with the people that
can't be digested.
Exactly. And then blood just starts pouring down the windows.
Horrifying.
Nothing would ever.
And it really is like the UFO or the creature was just like basically just like pissing on the house. He's like, this is my place. Like, here, fuck you.
Atrocious. So OJ's car stops. He's acting so calm. I can't even like. This is the type of person who I need to be with in an emergency because it wouldn't be me.
Yeah.
I would be hiding under the car.
Very calm.
Yeah. So he opens the door. The UFO is above him. He just is like, nope.
Yeah.
Pulls the door closed. Shit's falling into the windshield. There's like, you don't know what it is that fell in the windshield. He just like turns and like locks the door, which is so funny. And it's like the first time you really see that, like, even though he's calm on the outside, he's obviously scared.
Yeah.
And then the house lights come on, and you can see that there's like, it's a horse that came through the windshield, that plastic one.
Yeah, the plastic one.
So clearly it's upset about the plastic horse.
How dare you trick me?
And somehow he manages to still be able to drive that car all the way back. I guess that there's enough weight in the back. I don't know, but he sneaks to the van, stops the music. He tries to get his sister and Angel to the car.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a point when he realizes he can't look in its eyes.
Yeah.
So he's looking down the whole time. And he ends up being able to get the sister and Angel away. And they peel away and ditch the horses. And I just wrote, poor horses. Poor horses. They have no choice. They're stuck there.
Yeah. Yeah. So
they go to Angel's place where he gets high and they just play VR. I'm like, oh my god.
This movie is just like, some of the scenes have me just cracking up.
So good. OJ's obviously preoccupied. And then it switches scenes. You see the director's listening to the news and he hears something weird's happening there. Right. And he was just like, light bulb goes off. They're getting dinner at like some place, whatever. I don't know if it's In-N-Out Burger. But basically, at one point, OJ brings back up the situation. He's kind of like, we have to go back. And right. Angel's like, RTR, bro. Read the room.
Dude, Angel is my favorite.
So good. So good. Dying. So he also calls it a monster umbrella, which is a great name for it. But OJ's like, he feels responsible for the horses.
Right.
And he feels like he needs to take care of them, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
I would have gone back there, released the horses, and run away and started a new life.
You guys can survive, right? Yeah. Good luck.
So M gets a text, and I'm pretty sure it's the director saying, like, hey, I'm in.
Yeah.
So OJ goes back and lets out Lucky, and the three of them meet with the director. And they basically realize that, like, it's Jupe's fault the creature settled there because he keeps feeding it every week.
Yes.
He's trying to tame this alien.
Right.
which cannot be tamed.
No.
Which basically they're like saying, you know, that's where he went wrong. So then they decide to name the alien Jean Jacket, which is kind of like a wink and a nod to the horse from earlier. OJ decides he's going to draw out the creature so that they can film it using an old-fashioned camera that doesn't use electricity that the director had built.
Yeah.
And you see a scene, Angel's just like stealing shit. He's like stealing batteries from people's cars, stealing stuff from his job.
Yeah.
And then Ant, that is the director. Ant,
that's right.
at one point starts quoting the purple people eater, and I was like, oh my god. Actually, that's kind of perfect, the quote. Yeah. Then they start like, I thought it was really cute. They had all like little Monopoly pieces as they're like on the map, and then they named their walkies after the Monopoly pieces. I was like, oh, that's cute. They got little code names.
Yeah, they're like planning everything out like really well and strategic. Like they're gonna get this shot.
Yeah. So then the new chapter is Jean Jacket, and you see like Ant is like popping pills. They start blasting music to wake it up. The little floaty guys, so they stole a whole bunch of those like floaty guys,
inflatable,
right? The inflatable guys that were outside the car dealership. They took all of them, they stole them all, and then they hooked a bunch of batteries so that they would all they could basically see visually where the alien was like targeting, because they would fall. So OJ and Lucky ride off to, you know, distract the creature. And then some random person shows up and he's like trying to film, and M is like talking to him and realizes it's TMZ. Yeah. So TMZ is there. They're trying to get the scoop on what's happening around here because, you know, all those people up at Jupiter's Claim went missing. Yes. Just like a whole bunch, like 40 some people are gone. And so everyone's trying to figure it out. So TMZ is like, he's this guy on an electric bike.
And they're wearing just like a helmet. And it's just ambiguous because it doesn't fucking matter who it is.
No.
It's just paparazzi. So
exactly.
It's gonna come.
It's an electric bike, and the alien's waking up and basically turns off the bike. Yes. And so the guy goes freaking flying over the handlebars. And amazing that he didn't immediately die. And OJ goes to save him because he's a hero. Yes. And the guy couldn't be saved. He was like, videotape me. It's for the, you know, you gotta get the views, whatever. He's like obsessed with it. He's like, take a picture. And then OJ was like, I'm so sorry for this man. And gets on his horse and like rides away. And the creature. Yep.
Big suck.
Takes him up. So basically, Ant only catches the end of the creature coming on camera because he had to do a reload, which was very stressful. Yes. Because basically he had been running the film. I don't know why he was already running the film, because it was a hand crank.
I know.
So you could have started hand cranking at any point.
I guess because the creature moves really quick. Yeah. So I guess he was just like, all right, just in case.
Constantly be running film.
Yeah.
But
that scene had me like...
yeah. So he's like basically like... The director was like, ran out, so poor Angel is like doing the change of the film,
changing out the film,
and I was like sweating, like, oh my god. So he's like reloading, so he finally gets it going, and he just catches the end.
Yes,
and then the creature like flies over OJ, and you can hear the guy screaming inside him, and OJ just like keeps his head down. So we know that the creature was scared of ribbons the last time it was attached to the horse, so that's kind of like part of their whole thing where OJ is like using the ribbons to scare off the creature so that he doesn't get eaten. Yeah.
So the creature's like, I don't want to eat another big fucking plastic bullshit.
Right. Exactly. You know, after it had eaten the man or person, and it had been it chased off OJ and the ribbons or whatever, the director goes off script and he sees the light and he's like, this is gonna be so magical.
He gets like real weird, like he reaches like Nirvana or something. He's like, this is it, this is the best thing.
Like he literally, and he's like screw the impossible or something like that. And Angel's like, guys, something is happening. I don't know what's happening, but something's happening. And he just like goes off. He takes the camera, the rolly thing, and he just starts filming, and he knows he's not supposed to look up at the monster's eyes, but he's looking at it. And I'm like, I don't know how high this man must be off whatever prescription pills He was popping.
Yeah.
But he is not doing well. And, of course, gets freaking beamed up.
Yep.
And there goes the footage. He could have dropped the camera.
Yep. Yeah.
And then they would have had the film, but no.
Nope.
Of course not. So he gets sucked up. Okay, goodbye. Angel amazingly does not, because he gets saved by a tarp, because he's watching it happen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look away.
I'm like, Angel,
come on, close your eyeballs. So a tarp flies over his head, so he can't see. So he gets wrapped up in that and in barbed wire.
Right.
And he starts like wrapping the barbed wire around himself to like create an armor, which was smart. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He starts getting sucked up because the creature starts like pulling up like the little the inflatable dudes. Yeah. And Angel starts getting sucked up by it too, and I was like, oh my god! And he manages to like hold on to like some sort of like fencing or something and doesn't get pulled away.
Super fucking lucky.
Oh my god, it was so scary. So he manages to escape it. And then all of a sudden, you see that the thing is starting to unveil. Yeah. It's like unravel. I didn't know that wasn't its final form.
Yes, its final form. Just feels like it kind of resembled like a biblical angel type of thing. Very,
yes.
Like it's I don't know.
It was beautiful.
It was very
it was flowy. Yeah. Like it's almost like silk in the wind.
Yeah,
like,
and that's what so a lot of people weren't sure until that point. It was like, okay, is it still a UFO or not? And a lot of people were turned off that it ended up being like an actual creature.
Oh, really?
Turning into that, like that, because that is kind of like the big twist. It's like it's not just that shape, like it's like a weird space creature. Yeah. But I don't know why. I'm like,
who cares?
Yeah. You talk about after your review, but like people were like, I don't know, it's like weird. And I'm like, okay. Bye. G-Jackal looks rad as fuck.
Yeah, I was like, dude, that's beautiful.
Like, that's a cool fucking idea.
Yeah, I loved it. So basically, then M is trying to run far, far away. Mm-hmm. But she goes to the electric bike, but she can't get it going because it's still there. So OJ's gonna distract it. He does the eyeball thing. Yeah. And I was like, oh
I know.
You're such a good person.
I know. I was like so stressed. I'm like, please. And like he's just like a good brother. And I'm like, OJ, better make it, I swear.
I know. And like up until this point, like the good guy always wins usually at the end of a Jordan Peele movie, but you never know. This could have been the one.
I mean, us.
Well, us is very true.
Us
You're right.
A little.
Yeah, a little ambiguous.
Okay.
Anyway, so then they do a thing where they try to save each other. So basically, M's like, no, I'm going to save you. And he's like, no, I'm going to save you. And they're doing it with their fingers and their hands or whatever. Yep. And so basically, it's decided that he's going to distract the creature long enough. They're telepathically decided that he's going to distract the creature long enough for her to get the bike going and take it away. Yeah. So she gets the bike moving, distracts the creature, and then gets it to follow her all the way to Jupes, where she ends up releasing this gigantic balloon thing for it to suck up. It's like a gigantic human cartoon shape, and then she sees like the hand crank camera thing, so she just starts cranking pictures one after the other, and it like the creature comes, sucks up that balloon and explodes. Yeah. It's dead. She managed to get the creature on photo, which was amazing. And immediately, like, people are there to report on the scene. They're like, something happened, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I was feeling stressed. I was like, girl, pick up the pictures.
Yeah, to grab the photos.
Come on, get them, go.
Got the shot.
But she turns and she can see that she sees that her brother is there. He's alive. And the pictures came out. Yeah. And movie. And I was like, whew.
Tense.
It was up until the end. It was so tense. All right. So my most memorable scene was OJ and M versus the alien. I just thought that like whole thing at the end with the like brother and sister moment that they shared and how they were like telepathic with each other. And I thought that final scene was like really memorable. Plus the alien was like fully unveiled.
Yeah.
No, so I found that really interesting.
Yeah. And it's really cool to see like a really cool like brother and sister relationship like that. They felt very much like siblings.
Yes, they definitely did. And then the scene that should be deleted, I said, was the chimp getting shot.
Yeah.
I just felt like, listen, I know that I knew it was gonna happen, but I didn't need to witness it. It's just sad.
And it was like a lot of it was graphic.
It
was very shocking and just like bam, shot.
I mean, like, and also like I don't really feel like I needed to. Well, I guess I was gonna say the whole scene with the monkey should have been deleted, but I get the necessity for it.
Yeah, that scene was very traumatic.
Yeah, it was a little much.
Like, don't like this.
No, definitely. So those were my my scenes.
Okay.
So I wrote main character smash.
Yeah.
Ave.
Good answer.
Yeah.
OG's a real man.
OJ can get it. Yeah. Main villain, obviously pass. I'm not into
I mean,
creatures of that type.
Of that size.
I wrote, how likely are you to survive? I put a 6.
Okay.
I feel like I would be able to keep my eyes averted from the creature.
That's fair.
Like, I feel like that was like a big thing. But, if I was at Jupiter's claim on the day that it abducted, definitely would have gotten sucked up because I would have been like, oh, what's going to happen?
Oh, cool, alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very much like
hit or miss.
Yeah, hit or miss.
I also feel like if I was in OJ's shoes or if I was in M's shoes, like higher chances for me surviving because I never would have been there in the first place and I would have run away and not worried about getting a picture.
Right.
Lower chances because I definitely would have shit myself.
Yeah.
And been incapable of handling that situation.
Yes.
Would you recommend to a non-horror fan? I said yes. It's very sci-fi-y.
Yeah.
It was scary. It was like scary in the way that like I was just tense. I was like clenched.
It's just like a lot of like uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like Gordy's whole thing, the digestion scene. It's just like, oh.
Yeah, didn't love.
No, don't
those
love
things.
that.
My final rating, I gave it 4. I liked it. It was good.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
I really like this one from Jordan Peele. There were a lot of people that didn't like it as much, and I will say Get Out his best, but Nope I think it was a little different.
Yeah,
and
I think that's probably what people aren't like expecting a sci-fi.
Yeah, and they were expecting. I don't think they were expecting that type of twist, and I definitely wasn't either. Like I didn't expect the alien
to unveil
the spaceship to be like an actual like creature that was just sucking people up.
Yeah,
but it's fucking cool.
Yeah.
I was like, that's rad.
Yeah,
it's terrifying because it's like cool. You're just hearing people being digested the whole time.
And
you rewatch it and you listen. You can hear like the horses like like you can hear the horses like
that's
any
sad.
type of echoing. Like that's the alien. Yeah, it's gross.
That's sad.
Yeah,
that's really
it's
sad. Yeah, that's a bummer.
But yeah, there's like you said, there's a lot.
Well,
of
that
layers.
makes sense because at the beginning of the movie, I did write. You hear screaming.
Yeah,
And then I was like overthinking and I was like, oh, maybe it was just the sound of the metal falling. But I guess it was actually someone had gotten sucked up.
And is not having a good time.
Yeah, wasn't having a great time and got fucked.
Yeah, but no, this is a good movie with a lot of layers. If you like to kind of pick movies apart, I think this is a good one.
This is because I feel like we really only scratched the surface and we talked for over an hour about it. So there's definitely a good one. In closing, next week's recommendations, I am going to have you watch the film Stardust.
And I'm having Megan watch Pan's Labyrinth.
And if you would like to guess the theme, you can reach out on social. Or if you would like to give us any suggestions for movies or themes, you can find us at howdoyouwatchthis@gmail.com. How do you watch this on Insta, Threads, and TikTok? Although I think technically TikTok is how do you watch.
Technically.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.